football match, which should be celebrated by many, ended up in the position it did yesterday. The behaviours of a few, how they, as I say, epitomised behaviours recently, and brought a bit of a shame and embarrassment.
A wide-ranging question, I appreciate, but what happened? How would you begin to describe what unfolded? Because to the outside we see television pictures. I wonder how you would explain what happened.
What I think we saw post the result of the penalties was euphoria from one side and reaction from another, and interspersed with some types of activities that egged on that rivalry. And what we saw was an overspilling of emotion that's been pent up probably for the last few weeks from both groups who were hell-bent on trying to reach each other. And if it wasn't for the fact that we reacted the way we did, I think we'd have seen a lot more incidents of violence and disorder.
Where are we in terms of arrest numbers?
We're at 9 currently for those incidents that have been well reported already, including 3 out with the stadium and the rest within the stadium. But I expect that number to rise as and when we establish what we've got. I've got a region of 20 crime reports already, which we're acting on currently, and I expect that number to grow.
It feels low. Would you expect it to rise significantly?
I would expect it to rise significantly. Those numbers are relative to a match day whereby we wouldn't always make mass arrests just due to resourcing implications and public safety. But I do, when there's an inquiry ongoing, expect there to be a rise in that number.
And in terms of injuries to your staff, how many and to what nature?
So at the moment I've got 3 or 4 injuries that are recorded, but that's not unusual for that to rise throughout the week, and I'm monitoring that with officers coming back onto duty or reporting accordingly. So I would expect that to rise, and we'll monitor it as we go.
How satisfied are you with the policing operation?
I am satisfied with the policing operation. We planned for it, we used the contingencies required to obviously take to the pitch, which is not a usual occurrence from a policing perspective. But as ever, I'll review that as we go in terms of what could we have done something better, or could we have planned differently, and we'll take that any learning that we've got.
To put it bluntly, were there enough police officers in the stadium?
My view was there were enough police officers within the stadium, and a flex within those police officers as to what their duties would be, and a sizable number of police officers out with ready to support. But I put that in the context of 2026. I don't have the luxury of a significant number of officers. The club operations should be in a position to respond, and we will support that accordingly. I'm not, in a view, wanting to put more police officers into stadiums. I don't think it's the right thing to do.
How do you strike that balance between an argument which says you might have to, and there's an inevitability about this? It's the first time, I think, since 2018 there's been that number of travelling fans, the accusation that you should have seen this coming, so to speak.
Well, my argument would be that the minute we need to put more policing in because we assume that public can't behave is a problem that we've got moving forward. So when we think about the allocation of tickets, away fans, etc., then that has to be built into what the policing capability and willingness is to support that operation and where our priorities lie elsewhere.
It is early days, I appreciate. Did you get anything wrong? Is there anything you would do differently?
At this time, I couldn't tell you. I would need to review in slower time. And then, as I say, if there are parts that we could have done better, we will be first to review and debrief on that.
Because you said you're happy with the reaction. What's the case to discuss about in terms of how you prevent these things in the first place?
To prevent them, I mean, the option I've got is to over-police it and to have a full cordon of officers in the middle and take over the club operation. That's not appropriate, nor is it a good use of police officers. So what we need to do is ensure that we've got officers briefed and standing at the relevant areas. We had them to a point and we needed to move them into that area. So learning might be we need to position them at a different part of the pitch, but I don't think we're there yet. I think we need to look at the bigger picture as to where else threat and risk played out. The public saw what was on the pitch, but there was other things going on in the stadium as well.
You talked to us a bit about that because the afternoon started really, I think the first communication from Police Scotland was about ticketless fans entering. Talk to us a bit about that situation and anything else that occurred away from the scenes at full time. So
we were aware a number of fans had arrived at the pulse point, which is the ticket checks for the away side of things. As I say, we were monitoring that as we went. A number of things happened that obviously pushed the sort of security operation at the turnstiles, and at that point individuals took the advantage and pushed through the club steward lines. We need to look at that as to how that happened and to all the tactics that were deployed to take people's attention away. And we need to look at that moving as part of the inquiry.
How worried are you generally about the culture at the moment then within certain sections, not all clearly, of Scottish football?
I'm frustrated. I'm very frustrated at it at the moment because I think it's taking over and taking the headlines for what should be a celebratory game of football. I think it's a worrying trend, and one that I would absolutely implore my colleagues, as we are, to engage and to speak about how we make things better moving forward.
What does the joint up effort look like? Because clearly the Scottish FA are at the table, the clubs. We see a number of fans entering the stadium with balaclavas, with pyrotechnics. How does that joint up venture look to try and prevent this?
Well, I think there has to be further punitive action, and if somebody does not comply with the ground rules, what is happening to them? Are they then not admitted to the stadium? Are they ejected, refused? You know, what engagement is taking place with them to make sure they understand the ground regulations? That first and foremost sits with the clubs, and we will support that, because once they come into the stadium, we've obviously got to consider the general safety of everyone. That's the conversations that need to take place as to what the tolerance within Scottish football is moving forward.
Do you feel like you need more from clubs and footballing authorities?
I think we need more conversations, absolutely, and I'm clear we have a very good working relationship with them, but I think we've taken it to a new level after what we saw yesterday.
What is the likelihood that we see a big away allocation for this fixture going forward?
I couldn't comment on that because, as I say, it wouldn't be me that made the decision, but I would say to you that we will have a part to play in that conversation.
How damaging was yesterday for that conversation?
I would say it plays into and leads the conversation moving forward, and probably, as I've said already, puts us in a position whereby we cannot have what happened yesterday. So our starting position is that number of away fans is not workable with currently.
Do you feel like everything was set back by yesterday?
I think behaviours of fans set football back and put the spotlight wrongly on Scottish football, and I can see why general fans would feel disgruntled with that.
Because it is a joint up conversation, but if the question was put to you, if you were the sole decision maker on that number of away fans, the answer would be no.
No, not at this current time.